The saying goes, divide and rule. In the town of San Diego, who truly held the power? Don Rafael, the wealthiest man in town, owned vast lands and was a patron to many. However, he was never seen as a ruler because of his modesty and lack of ambition. When he was unjustly attacked, he hesitated, and as a result, the townspeople turned against him. Could Capitan Tiago be the true cacique? He seemed important, receiving lavish banquets and gifts from his debtors. His table overflowed with the finest fruits, and when he admired a debtor's horse, it would soon end up in his stable. Yet, behind his back, people mocked him, calling him Sacristan Tiago, indicating they viewed him as insignificant, much like a mere church servant. Perhaps it was the gobernadorcillo? However, he was merely a puppet in the hands of higher authorities, always following orders rather than giving them. Although he had invested a significant amount to gain his position, earning 5,000 pesos and facing many humiliations, he had little actual power. He only looked good on paper. Might God be the real force behind the town? It didn't seem so. God did not challenge anyone's conscience or disrupt their sleep. In fact, if he was ever mentioned in a sermon, the villagers seemed to long for a God who was absent among them, focused instead on the saints who occupied their lives. San Diego resembled a modern-day Rome. Instead of grand marble buildings and coliseums, it had structures made of nipa and bamboo. The curate acted like the pope, while the civil guard's alferez held a role similar to a king. In this structure, two men stood out, Fray Salvi and the alferez. Both were determined to be the true leader, often at odds with one another. Fray Salvi was a quiet, sickly Franciscan, unlike his fiery predecessor, Padre Damaso. He was known for his strict routine and earnest religious devotion. Within a month of his arrival, nearly everyone in town joined his religious order, much to the dismay of his rivals. He delighted in the sight of townsfolk wearing scapularies and knotted girdles, symbols of their dedication. Meanwhile, the town's senior sacristan profited from selling religious items that guaranteed the salvation of souls. Fray Salvi was diligent in his duties, even to the point of being overly strict, often closing the church doors and not allowing anyone to leave when he preached. In contrast, Padre Damaso was known for hitting those he deemed disrespectful, believing that the Indian people could only be controlled with force. Although Fray Salvi rarely used violence, he imposed fines for any shortcomings among his subordinates. Older townspeople joked that while Salvi might not punish often, the punishment he did deliver was severe. On the other hand, the alferez, the local head of the civil guard, posed a rival to Salvi's spiritual authority. Local gossip suggested the devil himself feared Salvi after an incident where he was captured, whipped, and released only days later. The alferez himself was notorious, married to Doña Consolacion, a vibrant woman who wore too much makeup. The couple often took out their frustrations on each other, displaying loud quarrels that entertained neighbors. Whenever Padre Salvi heard about these disputes, he would merely smile and say a prayer. The alferez often recounted a story to visitors about Fray Salvi's chocolate, suggesting it could be poisoned depending on how it was asked for. The alferez claimed that chocolate A meant rich, while chocolate A implied a watered-down version. This story likely served more to ridicule Salvi than to reveal any truth. To undermine Salvi, the alferez would enforce a curfew, claiming he saw Salvi out late at night wearing local attire. Salvi would respond by preaching long sermons whenever the alferez entered the church, ensuring the doors were locked until his sermon was over. The alferez would leave in frustration, only to retaliate by punishing any sacristan he could catch. Fray Salvi would simply take the fine and then allow his livestock to graze in the alferez's garden, showcasing their ongoing rivalry and playful, spiteful manners. When her husband was passed out from alcohol, Doña Consolacion turned her attention to watching the young girls pass by their home. She mocked them from the window, making them feel uncomfortable and unwelcome. It was said that she had never taken a good look at herself in a mirror, which was perhaps her greatest flaw. In conclusion, the true rulers of San Diego embodied a mix of egos, grudges, and flawed human relationships. It was a town where the balance of power shifted based on personal rivalries rather than individual merit.